In the coming hour, we hope to share lots of useful information as to how businesses can prepare for the global era of plastics regulation. We're also pleased to be able to hold this webinar after yesterday's announcement that the next session of the UN Global Plastics Treaty will be held in Geneva from the 5th to 14th of August. And throughout the webinar, we will also be discussing how this could potentially set new expectations for businesses.
And what we found is that the regulatory landscape for plastic is very fragmented and it's constantly evolving. So things are changing very quickly. And this is creating quite an administrative and financial challenge for businesses. So we created this illustration as a way to sort of show visually the type of complicated, convoluted requirements that, for example, a sustainability manager working at a large corporation would be trying to juggle.
Plastic pollution is a global problem, and because it is it's a global problem because it's a global commodity produced in one place, used in another place, and often kind of managed at its end of life in another location, all with different regulations and different ways of dealing with it, as Hanna's slide showed. So the idea that any one country can set up a regulatory framework which manages all of those different phases of its life is nonsensical in a sense. And if we want to try and manage it as a kind of the whole of the plastics life cycle, we need a global kind of approach to regulation. And that's why the treaty is so exciting.
And I think part of the challenge and the reason the treaty is so important is it can actually help us close some of the gaps of how those reporting requirements are very different. Again, Hanna showed a great illustrative slide of the type of 360-degree challenge that a sustainability manager in a company faces. And I think that illustration is quite accurate because many companies have both voluntary commitments and then mandatory compliance, such as extended producer responsibility regulation. We're tracking today 79 national systems, national jurisdictions around the world with EPR, 35 draft laws. There are dozens of countries with bans on certain materials. There are countries that have moved into eco-modulated EPR, where different fees are charged for different materials. And on a yearly basis, that can change the calculation around should a company be using material A or material B if they have equally high performance.
The fact is we live in a data-driven world. The decisions we make, the decisions businesses make are framed in good data. And the truth is that from a plastics and packaging perspective, the data story is incredibly fragmented. The set of definitions, the standards, the way we talk about packaging, we may as well be talking different languages most of the time. And what we've seen that's been so successful so far, at least in the process, is the way that the business community and the policymaking community have come together around this sort of common language of policy. And what we believe really is that we need to come together now in a common language of data in order to be able to embed this change and make it really actionable, both on the ground, but also in a global perspective as organizations sort of navigate this issue and this opportunity in the context of the wider sustainability paradigm.
So thank you also to all our panelists for your interventions. From Hanna, we heard this overall landscape, the fragmentation. From John, the moment in time that we are to be able to, get the highest return on our existing investment in solutions to plastic pollution by this treaty that can set the North Star. Jodie, the need for ease in reporting so that attention can be focused on action, and the fact that business is also calling for regulation through the Business Coalition, who is asking for global rules to level the playing field. And from Stephen, the fact that the data is there, that data management solutions are also there in order to facilitate ease of reporting.